start, let me just say something, get it out of the way so nobody's confused, okay? This is not going to be one of those cinematic, beautiful art videos. And you know the ones. Slow motion brush strokes, ambient music, a voiceover about the meaning of art, life, and creativity, okay? If you want that kind of thing, go watch Gox, okay? Videos are phenomenal. This is not that. This is gonna be the art YouTube equivalent of sitting next to the crackhead on the bus. So lower your expectations by about 100. Now that we got that out of the way, this man here is Vorgestrath. I don't know where he lives exactly, but it's probably gonna be somewhere cold and miserable. He's probably, in this big tower made of black stone, sitting in the middle of a dead forest. And Vorgestrath has this crystal ball, and it started out as this powerful magical item for predicting wars or telling ancient prophecies and that sort of thing. And over time, I think Vorgestrath realized that the world has much bigger problems than dragons and dark lords, and so he found a way to open portals to the Shadow Realm, and he uses the crystal ball to find the worst people on the planet and send them there. The Shadow Realm is not for everybody, right? Vorgestrath has standards. He only sends, I'm talking like the worst of the worst, the scum of the earth. I'm talking people who talk on the phone while they're on the bus, or chew with their mouth open, or people who stand in doorways, people who clap when the plane lands. Real monsters. And of course, how could we forget pedophiles? I think Vorgestrath's job is to send them to the dimension filled with all of their own kind, where they can just suffer for eternity. And honestly, jokes aside, really, the more I think about it, the more I feel the world could use more characters like this. Not necessarily the Shadow Realm part, though that is negotiable. I just mean strange characters in general. We used to have more of them in stories. Old wizards and weird hermits, or people who lived in towers and knew magic, and fantasy used to fill the atmosphere. And now it's just kind of shallow. It's been cleaned up, glamified, which is weird because fantasy used to be something where the stories could actually be unsettling. It could be this otherworldly, strange war you can dive into where monsters were monsters. I mean, take vampires. Vampires used to be these terrifying, primal, vicious creatures, right? You read Dracula, and Dracula is not this quirky character. He's not ironic and cracking jokes. He's definitely not dancing. And that's what makes him cool. He's not relatable and charming. He's terrifying. And somewhere along the way, I think everything just got a little silly. Not everything, mind you. There's still great dark fantasy story out there. But most of the fantasy I read nowadays is either for children or smut. Sometimes you need something that isn't going to make a joke every 5 minutes. Something that builds suspense and makes you feel eerie, and something that doesn't have Jack Black in it. You want a castle on a cliff in the middle of a thunderstorm, and sirens who aren't there to look pretty and fill that role of a sailor's love interest. They're supposed to eat you. And I don't know, and I might be rambling here, but I think a lot of things have just gotten watered down a lot lately. Even if we look at architecture, and I'm no architect, but I remember being young and walking into a cathedral and being a little terrified. I mean, like, they're these stone structures with the most graphic depiction of Jesus you could ever imagine. That being said, they have these beautiful spires and gargoyles and hand-carved everything, I don't know. And now you have these flat, concrete, cookie-cutter buildings that don't inspire anybody. And I think it's because we don't world build anymore. We don't think about what people in 100 years from now are going to say about it. And we definitely don't think about what the people 100 years ago would have thought. We need to have something that's just a little mystical. And it doesn't need to be an entire world. It could just be one person, a haunted knight, a mysterious traveler, an old wizard who sends annoying people to the Shadow Realm for eternal punishment. Your brain will start filling the gaps. Where do they live? What have they seen? What do they look like if they haven't slept in 3 centuries? And now suddenly this painting isn't just a picture, it becomes to a character with a story. And I think that's what we all need to start doing more in our lives. We need to have wonder and imagination back. Something I'd like to do that I know is already so overdone, but is do world building and film the journey, I guess. I'd love to get my hands into digital art someday and start building this world and the people in it and the lore behind it, and kind of just show how that can spiral out and how one thing can influence the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And I think it's important that people start doing that and thinking about these worlds, so that way we can start interjecting them into our real day lives, because we have completely lost the magic of living. I suppose before we completely go off of path of being an art channel, I should talk about the oil pastels. I've been enjoying them a lot. They're definitely something to get used to. If you do not have the patience for not getting small details, these will not be for you. And what I'm attempting to do with the highlights is I want it to look kind of like the orb is glowing with this reflecting light. I don't know how well it's working. I thought about maybe putting some like light beams coming off the orb, but I'm pretty sure it would just kind of all smudge into one. But that's kind of the goal here. There's parts of this where I'm trying to scrape off the top layer with a mechanical pencil. I did kind of try and find some tutorials, and some people said to do that, and it works medium sometimes. How much is user error? I imagine most of it. But again, these were cheap pastels. I just want this to be something fun to do. I've been trying to work in value more so than thinking of like painting, where I can layer things on, and trying to work from kind of darker to lighter, so that way I'm not over blending too much and getting smudgy, muddy colors. But really, the benefit of trying to do anything in this dark fantasy universe is that if it looks smudgy or something doesn't kind of work the way you want it to, stylistic choice, and it was meant to happen, and it's supposed to look like that, you know. And really, I'd love to see more dark fantasy art out in the world. A lot of people are going back to retro D&D or Turnip 28, which is such a beautifully gritty, grungy experience where you're, you know, kit bashing with nature. I think is just such a cool concept. Trench Crusade, which I'd love to see minis come out of, and people are doing such amazing work of making their own and kind of fitting it into this realm based off this concept art, that I think you can really see people's desire for this kind of aesthetic out in the world. So if this kind of style or this theme is something that you are enjoying as much as I am, let me know down below, and I'd love to make some more. I've always had this idea to make kind of a warden, like a large knight made out of a bell, and I don't know how that would work magic wise, but it's magic. It's, you know, oh, how does that work? It's magic. So, but I'd love to kind of make a series of these characters to maybe expand on this lore and on this world. And, you know, will it be bad pastel art? Yep, probably. But I would actually like to take time to make some cool concept art sometime, to explore these characters and kind of do some world building that can belong to someone other than just me. I thought the blue, like the monotone kind of blue color palette would be fun to work with. And I really enjoy setting these kind of hard limits in art. I think it makes me think a little more outside the box and try and reach a conclusion that's more interesting, even if it's not what I want. Usually after the piece is done, I'm glad it went with that way, so I'm doing this monotone kind of blue. And really, if you want something to change and to make something different or something interesting compared to what you're usually making, if you just feel like you're in kind of a creative rut, try and set some hard limits that you're not allowed to cross. I'm talking 3 color palette, or if you're writing, the character for 80% of the story has to be in one room. It can be really hard to do, but I find usually when I have these constraints, I find more out of the box and creative ways to get around it and think about it. The teeth here took me time and time and time again, and it just didn't work. I finally just fixed it by scraping off a large flat chunk of the white oil pastel and plastering on top of his mouth and scraping away the excess to give him the little teeth shape. I think it was just something that it needed it. I needed these grubby little hermit teeth sticking out.
But with that, I'm going to finish up these small details, and it's time for the glamour shots.
I just want to say a huge thank you if you stuck around to this part of the video. Consider giving a like or a subscription, and until I see you next time, I'll leave you with some final words of wisdom. It's like the old guru always says.